Okay, let's just dive right in. Picture this. Summer Game Fest 2025. Everyone's watching, waiting for that final big reveal.
Yeah, the energy was high. What's the closer going to be?
And then bam, Capcom just drops it. The next main Resident Evil. Not just a tease, like a full trailer, release date, the works.
Honestly, a proper mic drop moment,
Huh.
especially after that earlier 30th anniversary nod felt a bit light on game news.
Totally. And then this lands as the absolute final thing of the show. Talk about making a statement.
Pure showmanship.
Yeah.
And the internet, well, it just exploded, didn't it?
Instantly. So for this deep dive, we're going to sift through all that noise. We're looking at the news reports, fan forums, trailer breakdowns, basically everything we can find on Resident Evil Requiem.
Which is now officially RE9.
Exactly. Our mission here is to unpack what we know, what the title means, and get into all that community buzz and the theories flying around.
We'll hit the official facts first, then get into the trailer specifics, that title, Requiem.
And yeah, definitely tackle those big fan theories, because this one feels like it's trying to blend the old and new in a really interesting way.
You can feel that tension, that excitement. It's palpable.
It really is. Okay, so first things first, what do we actually know officially about Resident Evil Requiem? Lay out the confirmed facts.
All right. Fact one, it's real. Resident Evil Requiem, the 9th mainline game. Confirmed by Capcom, Summer Game Fest, June 6th, 2025. No more rumors on that front.
And they give us a date, which is nice, not just coming soon.
Nope. Locked in. February 27, 2026, which, feels relatively close, actually.
Yeah, not too far off at all. And platforms.
Simultaneous launch, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and Steam. So current gen consoles and TC covered from day one.
Good stuff. What about the engine? Still RE engine.
Yep, built on the RE engine.
Yep.
Which isn't surprising. It served them incredibly well. But there's some chatter, some reports suggesting it might be using sort of evolved tech.
Evolved how?
Like possibly incorporating advancements they developed for Dragon's Dogma 2 or the upcoming Monster Hunter Wilds, pushing the engine further.
Interesting. Leveraging learnings across their big franchises. Makes sense.
And tied to that, there are these whispers, reported in a few places, about the budget. Potentially the biggest budget for an RE game yet.
Really?
Yeah, and some speculation, probably based on older rumors, even mentioned a development cycle that might stretch to, like, 9 years by the time it launches.
Wow, 9 years. If that's anywhere near true, that's a massive investment. Okay, and the tagline. Every RE game needs that moody tagline.
This one fits perfectly. It's Requiem for the Dead, Nightmare for the Living.
Ooh, okay. Chills. Definitely sets a mood. Right, so those are the core facts from the reveal. Let's get into the trailer now. There's a new face, right?
Yes, heavily featured. A character named Grace Ashcroft. Looks very much like she could be the main protagonist.
Ashcroft. Now, wait a minute. That name. It sounds familiar to longtime fans, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And this is where the lore connections get, well, really juicy. Grace is Alyssa Ashcroft's daughter.
Alyssa from Resident Evil Outbreak. The reporter.
The very same. One of the Raccoon City survivors, a journalist who kept digging into Umbrella and everything that happened after the incident.
So Grace is following in her mother's footsteps. Is that the setup?
Seems like a core part of it. Reports analyzing the trailer suggest Grace is investigating these strange deaths, all showing the same disturbing signs.
What about her mother?
A huge motivator, apparently. She's looking for answers about Alyssa's murder, which sources say happened 8 years before the game starts.
8 years. Okay.
And someone pointed out that time frame lines up almost perfectly with a date mentioned in a file back in RE7, which could place Requiem's main events around 2025.
So a present-day setting, but deeply connected to events years, even decades prior. And speaking of the past, Raccoon City. The trailer showed Raccoon City.
That was the big gasp moment, wasn't it?
Oh.
Yes, the game's taking us back, Raccoon City, but set in the modern day, around 2025, decades after the incident.
But didn't the city get, nuked? Wiped off the map?
See, this is where a specific lore detail, often overlooked, becomes key. The sources reporting on this are highlighting that Raccoon City was destroyed by a thermobaric bomb deployed by the government.
Thermobaric, not nuclear.
Exactly. It's still unbelievably destructive, incinerates everything.
Okay.
But crucially, it doesn't leave the kind of long-lasting radiation fallout a nuclear weapon would.
Okay.
So the lore actually makes it plausible, scientifically within that universe, to go back and explore parts of the city years later, once the immediate aftermath is settled.
Right, that makes sense within their own rules. So what bits of Raccoon City did we actually see in the trailer? Any familiar places?
Oh yeah. The Wrenwood Hotel got some focus. It's mentioned as where Alyssa Ashcroft was killed.
Ah, so central to Grace's investigation.
It seems like it. And the trailer had these flashes, right? First-person perspective, inside the hotel. People noted it felt very similar to those creepy tape sections in RE7.
Like finding old recordings or having flashbacks. Ooh, unsettling.
Could be. Suggests that hotel holds some dark secrets. And then, the big one. The RPD.
No way! They showed the Raccoon City Police Department.
Yep. You see the sign outside, and then glimpses inside. That main hall statue, the doors, the staircases, it's unmistakably the layout from RE2.
Wow.
Obviously, it's wrecked, damaged, decaying from the blast in time, but it's definitely the RPD.
Seeing that place again, even ruined, that's huge for fans. Any other little nods, Easter eggs people caught?
Well, there's one detail causing a lot of buzz. Outside the RPD, some eagle-eyed viewers and sources discussing it think they spotted a Jeep.
Okay.
A specific beat-up-looking Jeep that looks an awful lot like the one Leon Kennedy might have left behind back in RE2.
Get out! Really? Land's cheap.
That's the speculation. Totally unconfirmed, obviously, just a visual detail. But you can imagine what that did to the fan theories about Leon's involvement.
Oh, absolutely. You can't go back to Raccoon City without thinking about Leon. Okay, and the enemies. Are we talking classic zombies or...?
The info suggests something new. A new, unknown infection. Could be a virus, could be fungal, unclear. But the key thing reported is that it's not connected to Umbrella's original T virus or G virus.
A completely separate outbreak in Raccoon City.
Seems like it. A fresh horror for a city that's already seen too much.
Man. Okay, let's pivot to the title itself. Requiem. That feels very deliberate, very final, maybe.
It does carry weight, doesn't it?
Mm.
Literally, a requiem is, a mass for the dead, a tribute. It implies themes of remembrance, farewell, maybe closure.
And how does that tie into the tagline again? Requiem for the dead, nightmare for the living.
It really doubles down on that feeling.
Yeah.
The requiem for the dead part speaks to acknowledging the past, the victims of Raccoon City, honoring that history. But the nightmare for the living bit, that suggests the present-day threat is intense, terrifying, maybe leaning more into psychological horror, which the series has been doing more of recently. It connects the past tragedy to present terror.
Bridging the history and the immediate horror. And you mentioned earlier there were reports about Capcom wanting to maybe move away from just numbered titles.
Yeah, that's been part of the discussion around the series' future branding. And Requiem is pretty clever in that context, isn't it?
How so?
Because IX, the Roman numeral for 9, is right there in the word requiem. R-E-Q-U-I-X-E-M. Well, nearly. It subtly includes the IX.
Oh, wow, I didn't even notice that. That's smart.
Right, so moving away from just RE8, RE9, RE10, using a title like Requiem signals a shift. It nods to its place as the 9th game, but suggests something more significant, a turning point, maybe the end of a major storyline or era.
Acknowledging the number while setting up something new, like a capstone and a foundation stone together.
Exactly. It feels very intentional.
Okay, this is fascinating. We've got the facts, the trailer breakdown, the title's implications. Now, let's wade into the fan reaction, the speculation, the theories, the stuff that's really got the community buzzing.
Oh, buzzing is an understatement. Some outlets use the word fizzing. Fans seem incredibly hyped. Many are calling it one of the best reveals they've seen for the series, feeling genuinely rewarded.
You can see why. That trailer felt like it had something for everyone, newcomers and hardcore fans alike.
Totally. It was mysterious enough to draw you in, but packed with those deep lore references for the veterans. And of course, before the reveal, there were tons of rumors flying around that turned out to be wrong.
Right, like the island setting people talked about.
Yeah.
The cult stuff, the goat man.
Yeah, reports confirmed those specific theories were debunked by the actual announcement. But now, there's a whole new wave of speculation, often citing info attributed to known leakers.
Okay, and a lot of the current discussion seems to revolve around leaks reportedly from someone called Dusk Golem.
That name comes up a lot in the fan discussions, yes. And, we have to stress, this is all community theory based on reported leaks, not official. Treat it as speculation.
Understood. So what are these reported details fueling the theories?
Things like the game being single-player only. Returning to third-person perspective, though, those first-person bits in the trailer are interesting.
Yeah, that adds a wrinkle.
Right. Also, a bigger focus on horror and tension over pure action. A gothic sort of atmosphere, areas being somewhat open, like interconnected zones, but not a full open-world sandbox, one main campaign.
Okay, standard stuff. What about characters beyond Grace?
The reported info suggests Leon isn't the only playable character besides Grace. But interestingly, that Jill Valentine apparently doesn't have a major role.
Uh-huh.
And here's the really big one that ties into everything. The game is supposedly framed as a conclusion, specifically a conclusion to Leon Scott Kennedy's story arc.
Whoa, a conclusion to Leon's story since Raccoon City.
That's the angle presented in these reported leaks, tying together RE2, RE4, RE6, his whole journey. And this feeds into ideas about the game's scale too ambitious, maybe using that advanced engine tech, biggest budget, and wrapping up threads going all the way back to the first game in Zero.
Okay, if that's the framework, it leads somewhere pretty dramatic, doesn't it?
It leads directly to the biggest, most explosive theory out there right now.
Yeah.
That Leon Kennedy might actually die in Resident Evil Requiem.
Wow. Just wow. That would change everything for the franchise. What's the thinking behind that theory in the community?
It connects all the dots we've talked about. The title Requiem, a final tribute. The return to Raccoon City, ending his story where it began. The idea of narrative symmetry, confronting his original trauma.
A final tragic homecoming.
Exactly. Some fans speculate about a potential sacrifice play. There's even, really specific fanfic-level speculation about Ada Wong being involved in his final moments, maybe reversing their dynamic from RE2. It's definitely dramatic. Proponents of the theory argue it would be the ultimate way to signal that new era Capcom reportedly wants, closing the book definitively on perhaps their most iconic character.
But surely not everyone buys into that. There must be pushback.
Oh, absolutely. Lots of counter-arguments in the discussions. Many feel killing off a legacy character like Leon now could just feel cheap or cliché unless it's handled perfectly.
Which is hard to do.
Very hard. Does the story leading up to Requiem really support such a massive emotional payoff? Would it require bringing in loads of other characters to give it weight? Plus, there's the argument that these characters, Leon especially, are so experienced now they're survivors. Would a sudden death feel earned or just forced?
Valid points. So it's a huge theory, sparks debate, but it's far from universally accepted. And it's important to remember Leon wasn't even in the reveal trailer.
Exactly. And that absence is fueling its own speculation. Does it mean his role is small? Or did they deliberately keep him hidden?
Maybe to keep the focus on Grace for the reveal.
Could be. Or maybe they're saving his appearance and whatever happens to him as a massive surprise for later. It definitely keeps the mystery alive.
No kidding. Okay, so let's pull all this together. Why is this deep dive into Requiem matter for you, the listener, trying to make sense of it all?
Well, hopefully you now have a clear sense of what's solid fact versus what's swirling speculation. You know the official details. Grace Ashcroft, her connection to the past, the modern-day Raccoon City setting, that February 2026 release.
But you also get the context for why everyone's talking. The layers of meaning in the title, the potential return of Leon, and yeah, these huge dramatic theories about where the story might go.
It helps you appreciate just how significant this announcement is. Requiem seems poised to really dig into the series' roots, that nostalgia factor, while also trying to push forward, maybe even by closing some very old doors.
It feels like a pivotal moment, a new protagonist stepping into the ruins of the past with the legacy of characters like Leon looming large.
And maybe, just maybe, some of those long-running stories are reaching their final act, their Requiem.
Which brings us to a final thought, something for you to chew on. With that title, Requiem, with the return to Raccoon City and with all this intense speculation, what would it really mean for Resident Evil if a character like Leon, whose story is so deeply intertwined with that city, actually had their story conclude definitively in this game?
How would saying a final goodbye like that truly pave the way for whatever new era Capcom is aiming for next?
Yeah.
Definitely something to think about until we learn more.